Welcome back to Sex and Whiskey, a Gay Crashers podcast. In our series, hosts Nikki and RJ will sip on a dram of the good stuff while discussing the more exciting stuff. We will take you on a journey, exploring whiskeys from around the world, while also educating you on the birds and the bees, especially correcting what school or even your parents missed on. Our goal is to promote a safe and fun environment that will leave you empowered and educated on your next bedroom adventure. So, sit back, pour a drink, and get ready for Sex and Whiskey. Hello, everyone. We are back with our 6th, 7th, 8th, whatever we're counting this episode as. You're in for a real treat today. I am one of your hosts, RJ Durante. My pronouns are he, him, and with me, as always, is...
Hi, I'm Nikki, and my pronouns are she, they.
Nikki.
Yes.
Nikki. We have an episode today.
We do. We tend to do that.
Yeah, but every once in a while we kick them out there. This is going to be a little truncated. We're going to try and keep this a strong hour. We say that every time. We'll see how that actually happens.
Now that we said it on camera and it's recorded, we have accountability.
It's set in stone. We can't change anything, or we'll just cut the third act. Who knows?
Fuck it. We do what we want.
We will do what we want as long as the whiskey is drank and the sex is discussed.
Hey.
Yes. Hey,
discussed. Let's drink. Let's start. This is starting great. Let's start drinking.
Hold on. What are we talking about today?
Well, that is a really good question.
That is a great question.
On today's episode of the Great British Bake Off, we're going to be exploring all things vanilla.
Ooh, vanilla, my favorite flavor.
It's my favorite flavor as well. And this is not the Great British Bake Off. Nobody sue us. This is Sex and Whiskey. So we're going to talk about vanilla in the context of sex. But first, we're going to drink.
Yes, we are. Do you want to go first?
After you.
Ooh, thank you. All right. So I brought 3 very unique little drams today. My first is Bushmills Peaky Blinders Prohibition Recipe Irish Whiskey. That is a mouthful.
It's a lot of words.
It is a lot of words. It is $25 to $30. I'm a big fan of Peaky Blinders, and I'm a sucker for something labeled after a television show. So it's very smoky. It's very strong. It was recommended to me with a cigar. Trying to hold off on those. So we're just going to drink it straight up tonight. Cheers.
Cheers, my friend. So I'm going to be naughty really quick because I have to look up a note. Oh gosh, me be naughty? What? So I had my husband.
Save that soundbite for later. Okay.
Wait, what?
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
What? Which part? Okay, 1 hour. No shenanigans. So actually, I will say the idea for this episode actually came from my husband.
Yes, it did.
He suggested the context of the conversation was like, please, occasionally you need to stop talking about weird kinky stuff. Like
us.
And I'm like, dude, do you even listen? And he's like, no, but
you?
So he suggested, like, why don't you talk about what vanilla is and what that means? And then as part of that, I was like, you can choose my flight. And originally I didn't like what he chose, but then I went back and I was like, this is fine. But what he said about just my entire flight today, none of them have a really strong flavor profile, but they are great examples of the best in their category. Very good vanilla example across several cultures. So my entire flight, that's what he chose. So shout out to my husband for tolerating all my shit. And so my first one is Hibiki Suntory Harmony Japanese blended whiskey. It smells like a great ounce perfume, like and apricots. And it tastes nutty and fruity, and then you get a bit of like coconut and cigar. It's It's fun. It's weird. It's like $100, I think. I didn't, it's not, I didn't pay for it. I don't buy my own liquor. That sounds awful. My husband's doing everything for me. This is the worst episode ever. Anyway, cheers.
I thought you said naughty instead of nutty. And I'm like, it tastes naughty. I'm like, okay, all right. Vanilla it is. Mm-mm-mm.
Oh
Ah,
God.
boy. Okay. So we've both had a drink, some of us before this as well. And we're gonna get right into this. I was tasked with asking coworkers about what is vanilla? What is vanilla sex? What is vanilla in your relationship, I guess, when it comes to bedroom activities. My coworkers ages range from as young as 28 to as old as 65. So it's a very wide variety. I only spoke to my male coworkers, so there's that. And my job in particular is labor and sales intense. So it was very interesting to hear what they had to say. Um, a lot of the older representatives were talking about vanilla being in the sense that it's the word missionary came up a lot. Just good old penetration. I guess, maybe your eyes lock, maybe they don't. Some of them put it in the sense that uh, someone said sex when you're tired. Um,
Oh my God. But that's so fucking relatable.
yeah.
Like, I'm horny, but let's make it
And
easy.
yeah, a lot of them did focus on, maybe some foreplay involved, I guess. But I think one of my younger coworkers, and by younger I mean like 2 years, he's 33, 32. He actually put it best, and he talked about it's comfort. It's, the comfort sex. It's the sex when it's, yeah, we showered. There might not have been shaving involved. Who gives a shit? Let's just rip the clothes off and do what we enjoy.
Mhm.
Which I think we all can relate to. There's a lot to be said there when it comes to vanilla. I think there's a lot of wrong. I'm going to say it's wrong connotations with it, because a lot of people think vanilla boring, and it's
Mhm.
not. It is comfort. It's, trust. It's love. It's having this intimacy that is routine. And it's a good routine. It's a routine that you're satisfied with, or else it wouldn't be your vanilla.
Mhm.
So yeah, and the representation obviously for the group of people who I talk to is going to skew differently than any other way. But like I said, I will say the older generation kind of tended towards a different view of it, very much in a old standard of thinking, and coming from a time when procreation, like the goal of sex was to have a child. And for some of them, as much as they talk big game about, things that happen, you don't know what happens behind closed doors, or how they react, or how they interact. One of them said, I remember the last time I got a blowjob. Reagan was president. um
Oh
so
my, wait a
yeah.
minute. Hold on. Hold on. Not me trying to not make a throat goat
Throat goat,
joke.
Nancy. Go, go, go,
Sorry.
go, go, go.
Okay, continue. No,
Yeah,
um,
it's fine. It's fine. We all know.
no, no, we all know.
Flotus was the goatus with the throatus.
Save that
Anyway,
sound clip. Okay.
anyway,
So it's been a while
yes,
since a
it's been
blowjob
a
for that
while. It's been a while.
person.
But my question then is, are you performing your due diligence for reciprocation? Are you not getting blowjobs because you yourself are not, performing cunnilingus? Because I will tell you that it's very selfish of you to expect something without giving. You can look back on Ask Us Anything for my opinion on oral sex. Um, so we can reflect there. But yeah, it's always unique to hear others' opinions about something that you feel strongly about and you
Mhm.
think is widely accepted upon a certain group. But obviously it's not. Everyone has their own opinions. Everyone, feels a certain way, especially, and this is why we do the podcast, because we're trying to, break these miscommunications, misunderstandings, and educate you on, your vanilla is not going to be somebody else's vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
So Nikki,
Uh-oh.
What would you say, is vanilla, if you've ever had offline conversations with your friends or your friends' partners? Kind of what is the idea there?
So what I've noticed talking to friends, couple of people who have experience writing erotica, clients just over the years, and then just who I am as a person. Um, it kind of, for me, it goes back to this idea of like, what is vanilla? And
Mm-hmm.
if you think about what vanilla is as a flavor, like
Mm-hmm.
it is one of my favorite flavors. It's my favorite flavor of cupcake, and I will
Mm-hmm.
die on that hill. But people think of like old-fashioned vanilla or um, Madagascar vanilla, Mexican vanilla. Is it a vanilla bean? Is it vanilla extract? Is it
Mm-hmm.
imitation vanilla? Is it toasted vanilla sugar? Like there's so many ways to get vanilla and
Mm-hmm.
vanilla flavors, that just saying vanilla and thinking it's just one thing is very limiting. Just like the flavor, people think vanilla, it's boring. No, you have to get creative with it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very unique flavor based on people's personal preferences. So when it comes to sex and sexuality and engaging in quote unquote vanilla behaviors, the thing that I unfortunately see the most is people saying that's prude, like that's prudish behavior. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
like the word prude.
No,
Um,
we
and
tried to escape that word.
yeah, like I don't like that word, but that's how people sort of associate it. Like, oh, that's prude. Like, oh, you're a prude. You don't want to do XYZ. The other thing I see it thought of is the opposite of kink. And so
Mm-hmm.
something kinky is, you put a kink in the norm. Um, However, not everybody can really define what that is. You give them a list of kinky, quote unquote, kinky behaviors. They can point and say, that's not vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
That's vanilla. That's not, that is,
Yeah.
that's not. And so they can separate those things. But a lot of people really don't know how to define it except just regular sex.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to like, well, what is regular sex? Um, and how are you being judgmental towards people who like vanilla sex? Do you
Mm-hmm.
even like realize that you have some sort of bias about it? So most of the time when I talk to people about vanilla sex, there are some who are really like, it's just what feels good and what I'm comfortable with, and I don't have to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it on the opposite side of maybe someone who is super kinky or
Yeah.
in the BDSM, you would have to set a scene. There's a lot of other things that go into safe BDSM practices and some kinky practices like spanking. There's a lot you have to think about. So with vanilla, maybe what it is you bring that back and you're like, I don't have to think. There's no safety precautions involved. It's just more of this sort of comfort thing, this old fashioned.
Yeah.
And it's not old fashioned. It's
Mm-hmm.
just what brings you back. It's your comfort food.
Yeah.
It's that thing that you're just like, oh, okay, I know I'm going to be satisfied. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is with the I'm going to be satisfied is what you sort of said with the, with oral sex, giving and receiving, reciprocating. And the other thing is positions. A lot of people want to break vanilla down into positions. Oh, it's missionary.
Yeah.
Would doggy style be vanilla? There are people
To
who would
some
say
of us.
no. And to some, it's yes, like that's
Yeah.
vanilla, and it's going to be different for everybody. But it does really kind of come down to what is your goal in sex in that moment? Is it intimacy? Is it to bust that O? Like whatever you're looking for, is that how you define it? And
Mm-hmm.
I would actually argue that if you're looking for intimacy and only vanilla sex, you're sort of ignoring that a lot of intimacy does happen with BDSM and other kinky things that can happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's going to come down to individual preferences, but then truly understanding who you are as a person, what your needs are, and being able to communicate them and be like, this is where I'm comfortable. This is the goal of our whatever this encounter is going to be. Hopefully to increase intimacy or have a physical, emotional, mental connection, to get off. But sometimes sex isn't about, ejaculation or even an orgasm. So I think vanilla is going to be very unique to the person. And however, there's some basic things that it's just like, okay, well, yeah, it's sex. And then you turn into like, well, what is sex? What all does sex mean? What does that include? So I just like almost hit a table and I'm fine. I've hit that table twice today. So
you're covering the entire gambit of everything. You hit every single nail.
Are we done? Is that the
that's
the episode?
That's the episode. All right, thank you everyone. We'll see you now.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like
no,
be
you
thorough.
hit on a lot of important, and you spoke about something, and I think about how this is so weird to bring up during this conversation, but my mom has comfort movies that she watches at night. She's an insomniac, and there's certain movies that help her like fall asleep. One of them is Mary Poppins. The other one is Aliens.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love
this. But that's what it is. It's two very polar opposite, varieties of film, obviously, but they both elicit comfort. So, obviously you and I, even within this podcast, are going to have different opinion about what is like standard, XYZ when it comes to vanilla sex. And in situations in relationships where it's one partner is like, vanilla to me is a quickie. It's not even the point of, like you said, orgasm. It's just, I need to get fucked right now, and then we need to shower and be on our way. If I orgasm, I do. If I don't, it is what it is. But like, that needs to happen now. But then it's also in the other side of it, like, hey, we're going to take our time, we're going to enjoy ourselves, we're going to explore our bodies, and we're both going to get to the finish line. Like, that's the goal tonight. So that's vanilla too. And I think we're obviously going to dive a little deeper into it, but I think it's a good starting point to get in your head and have this conversation with your partner. Have an idea down of, it's a Wednesday night, if you have kids, the kids are in bed, you want to, you just want to throw down. What's your vanilla? What's going to make you both happy? What's going to be comfortable for the both of you? And if you're unable to have that conversation, I don't know what to tell you, because you need to have it. It's important, especially in any relationship that wants longevity, is understanding the needs of your partner. And that goes without saying for anything, even outside of sex and whiskey, just in general. When it comes to, vacuuming, washing the dishes, doing the laundry, just fucking understanding each other on a very basic level. And I think that all ties into vanilla. Yeah, that was that's a tangent. I just, it's important to me that people realize we're not doing this to like give you your own set of rules and what you have to do, but rather kind of give you a soft set of helpful instructions on how you can possibly improve things for yourself and your partner or partners. Hey, different strokes, different folks. Yeah. But in saying that, I think I had one more kind of question for you, in the framework of vanilla. What do you think is the biggest thing that you would consider people need to adjust, like mindset wise, with vanilla? Like, should people be throwing out like their own personal scripts for what vanilla is? Should people be adapting to what their partner's vanilla is? especially when in a new relationship. So I come to you and I say my vanilla is missionary, staring each other in the eyes, and I come. Her her form of vanilla is a contract, light choking, thrown around a little, and everyone has fun. What would be your advice in that situation to find like the vanilla?
So I
I
that's the
love
thing.
putting you on
Like,
the spot.
yeah, no, you do. That's a great one. Thanks.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for that. No, but it is a really good question. And I would start by saying that has nothing to do with vanilla. That's just sexual communication. And there's
Mm-hmm.
no need to define it. Now, say one partner, they want to be choked and spanked, and that's kind of what they need for them to get sexual fulfillment, and the other
Mm-hmm.
person is uncomfortable with that, or maybe that's just not a thing they want to do all the time, therefore their partner is not always fulfilled. I would say you got to sit down with your partner and have an honest conversation and say, I'm either uncomfortable by this doesn't do it for me. Are there activities we can engage in together
Mm-hmm.
to make sure we're both fulfilled? And that's it. Like, what can we do together to make sure we're both fulfilled? But it can be kind of an aggressive conversation. Like, the way I even put it sounds
Absolutely.
aggressive.
Yeah.
So it kind of comes down to just erase the idea of vanilla. It's just you and the person you want to have sex with, and you want to be with, or whatever. Not necessarily a hookup, but just that other person.
Mm-hmm.
It's really like, hey, how do I make you feel good? And opening up the conversation that way.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how do we really make tonight special? How do we
Yeah.
like start having those conversations, or is there anything that you would want me to do? Or hey, would you be willing to try this? And another option is, and this actually comes from the kink community, is the yes, no, maybe list, and putting
Mm.
every sort of um sexual activity possible and yes, no, maybe categories, and kind of have that fun sort of like, oh, wait, here's this grab bag of things we're both down for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see if that can be our new sort of sexual script for each other as a
Yeah.
couple. So
Mm-hmm.
there are several different avenues. It's really going to depend on communication style. And I want to go back to something you said a little while ago. It does very much, it's about more than sex. It's about knowing your partner and how they communicate, how they show love and affection and what they respond to. So kind of going back to that as well. So there's a big picture to it. You've got to be able to communicate. And yeah, rip up the word vanilla. Don't even
It's
think
out of
about
sight.
that.
It's out of mind. I think
Mhm.
you deserve a drink for that. I think you definitely deserve a drink for that. I think this is second flight. We need to move into the second flight.
Yeah, it's time for
Let's
the
get the
second
drink on
flight.
that. Yeah.
Okay, what did I? Okay, am I going
Yes.
first or you? Okay.
Oh, ladies first.
Um, so the Macallan. It's the it has the on the bottle.
Yes, it does.
Uh, it's the 15-year. I think it's a blended. Yeah, I think this one's blended.
Mm-hmm.
Scotch whiskey, and it's fine. It's fine. That's sort of my
It's
opinion
just
on it.
fine.
It's fine. It's not my type of scotch personally.
Breaking
It's
my
not
heart
what I
over
go for. Oh my gosh, I'm so
here.
sorry.
Breaking my
Um,
heart.
but see, the thing is, our vanillas are very different.
See, it's a great episode.
So different.
Great
Yeah,
episode.
we're very opposite.
Yeah.
But there's a very vanilla toffee flavors that I really love
Mm-hmm.
on the nose. But it's got a really weak finish for me. It's just a very disappointing finish. Cheers.
That felt not personal, but very personal in the same avenue. So I'm just, that's fine. That's fine.
I wrote
Do nonsense.
I wrote down weak finish and then phrasing, like just just like watch your phrasing. And then I decided to make it a personal attack.
Yeah. So now that I have a mustache, I feel that it is appropriate to drink the favorite of one of the greatest mustache holders, Ron Swanson. So I will be enjoying a Lagavulin 16. It is a multiple award winner. It ranges from $90 to $110 in some stores. It is sherry oak sweet. It's very earthy. It's probably the most complex whiskey that I enjoy. It should be savored. I'm very much so into just downing them right now, but it's really, really good.
Yeah, I'm downing mine today because it's just a day where I need to, but I'm always going to savor. Even if it's just fine, I'll still savor it.
Bet you will. So we have something to jump into:
Oh God.
oral sex.
Okay.
In the realm of vanilla, I put oral sex right up with there. I think it's a great foreplay initiative, as long as there is a you for me for you attitude, because most people enjoy it. It might throw some people off. Some people just completely skip it and get right into penetration. There's also digital penetration, everything from fingering to hand jobs, which people still have this like notion that it's that's a 14, 15-year old thing back in the day, that as grown up, we don't do that stuff anymore. And I hope
Oh,
it's
you know what? You
sometimes the going back to the basics is just as magical. Like, I don't
yeah, like
know where this hate came from.
a good hand job is a good hand job. It doesn't, you don't have to be a certain age.
I completely agree. I completely agree. And I know many of people who have enjoyed um getting their own records spun. So
Downstairs DJ. Yeah.
downstairs DJ. I'm glad,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a VJ.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's move on quick.
Yep.
Okay.
Lagavulin. Okay. So the idea of oral sex, I will, should I give it from my, like, I don't, okay. Oral sex. Uh some people prefer it with protection. Um just especially if it is, a normal encounter. But in this idea, I'm branching out here. I'm thinking that if it's vanilla, it's between partners. We encourage you to get tested, obviously, if you're safe, comfortable. And in that realm, if you don't need protection for whatever reason, then this is the avenue you're going down. This is, so I'm going from that base, just so everyone out there in radio land can understand what I'm talking about. So for a person receiving a blowjob, or a person, we're gonna talk about giving. Okay. My advice to anyone is that certain adult films, kind of, if they're a weird phenomenon has happened, where we went from the subtle idea of what a blowjob is to I'm going to slam this dick as far down my throat until I'm half sobbing and choking, like gagging on this thing. I don't there are people out there who might enjoy that. I don't know where that came from. It looks like a mess, and it just looks like I'm harming someone if they're doing that. Like, they're like literally impaling their throat. Just don't. Like, I'm, again, personal preference here. If your partner likes that, go for it. Ask your partner first.
Have a very clear conversation and a hand signal to stop, because
Yes,
you can't say your safe word with a dick all the way like in the
correct.
back of your throat. So have a hand signal or a slap on the thigh.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to throw that
No,
in there.
no,
Safety
absolutely.
thing.
I've never had to give a blowjob, so I mean, I don't really have the informant. I've been on, obviously, the receiving end of them, so I can speak
Okay.
to that knowledge. But I will say that, for those out there, there's some nerves, uh, behind your penis, leading from the tip down to the balls. So yes, there is sensation there, but really the money spot is the tip of the penis. So you don't need to engulf the entire thing. Does it look cool? Maybe, but you don't like you don't. That's
Does
not
it
the
look cool?
that's not the purpose of the game here. All right, that's not the purpose. Um, you okay over there?
You just said, does it look cool? And I'm just like, what, you got like sunglasses on, like looking
Oh,
fly as
you don't
fuck?
wear
Like,
sunglasses during?
I wear like a full facial protection. I don't want to
Okay,
get that shit in my eyes.
like a thumbs up and
Yeah.
soft pat on the head. No, don't do that. Don't just I
Okay,
mean
yeah.
I maybe braid hair. Who knows if maybe they want a new hairstyle. No, we're we're gonna focus on the idea that if your goal right there is pleasure oriented, obviously, then yeah, the cluster of nerve cells is literally the tip of the penis, and that should be like the focus of the game here. And it doesn't have to be rough, it doesn't have to be fast, it can be a gentle smooth motion, obviously, and the buildup there is can be leading towards something else. It could be its own end game in itself, however you want to play the game.
Mhm.
But I would say that a lot of it is communication and figuring
Mhm.
out what they like and figuring out what you're comfortable doing, because just because somebody wants something doesn't mean that you're going to do it. That is important. Everyone wants to try this and try that, but if you're not comfortable doing something, don't do it.
Yeah.
uh,
And I think that comes down to communication. And I will say I really love that you brought up the fact that in porn, especially, this whole let me fuck your face phenomenon
Jesus
is
Christ.
it's huge. And you know, there's a lot to unpack there. We're not unpacking it this episode. There are people who do actually enjoy that, and we're
Mm-hmm.
not unpacking that this episode.
No.
But I don't want anybody to think that that is the norm, like that has to be the normal. And that goes for the person with a penis or
Mm-hmm.
without. Um, and if you think, like, if you're thinking like, do I have to get that all the way back there? Like, no. I would talk to your partner and be like, what feels good? And your mouth is just like a real interesting in ways it can stretch. You have your cheeks, you have your tongue, you have your lips. There's a lot going on. And you do have a lot of control over stuff. And there's a lot going on with the penis. There's just so many places that you can touch, and you can also use your hands. So
Absolutely.
have that sort of playful conversation with your partner. Does this feel
Mm-hmm.
good? And if you are like you want to give like a really, really good blowjob, having the like, no, 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 no. Just stay there. Don't touch me. Just tell me what feels good. Walk me through this. Yet you still have control of the situation. You will learn so, so, so much about what makes your partner buck. And it doesn't have to be about an orgasm or ejaculation. Don't laugh. And that
I'm
goes
not.
on. You are laughing. What the fuck? That is laughing.
No,
And
I'm just
that
like,
goes
this
for
is like, I'm
both
also
sides.
just like, there's a lot going on over here.
Sorry. Did I what? I was being so like professional.
Yeah, no, that was great.
Um,
Very professional.
but it goes both ways as
Yeah.
well. Like for a partner who is exploring a vulva, having that sort of like playful conversation of, does this feel good? Does it not? What would you like me to do? I'm going to say this though, when it comes to blowjobs, just a quick story. I know we're trying to keep it short. I remember a conversation from when I was, I don't know, like 18 years old, 19, I was staying in the dorms, and I was probably like, I was so high and I was drunk, but I remember this like, oh my God, she actually blew on my dick. She like she blew on it because that's what she thought, that's what a blowjob was. And in my head, I was just like, well, who the fuck was gonna tell her otherwise.
Yeah, who was gonna educate her?
Like, are you in? I'm like, are you really in here like talking shit? She touched your dick. Shut the fuck
Yeah,
up, dude. Like, you
should be
probably are.
high-fiving.
Yeah, it just probably aren't shit anyway. Like, so, yeah, that's my spiel on blowjobs as a professional sex coach.
Yes. Yeah. Also, give them a heads up.
Yeah.
It's
If you're
there's
getting
there's
close,
so if you're getting close, okay,
and have a conversation about what's
and
gonna happen.
and you're about to kick off, you shouldn't be in the act of doing it and telling them I'm coming. Okay, that's not enough warning.
Yes.
All right, it already happened. It's like a tap on the shoulder or some sort of, obviously it should be physical in some way to get their attention and be like, hey, something's going to happen. We need to, or beforehand be like, do you swallow? Do you not? Like, what is your preference? Doesn't
Yes.
matter what your preference is. It matters kind of what the giver's preference is there. So,
You'll ruin a moment
oh,
if
you
you
fucking will.
fuck that up.
Yes.
I will say that if you feel like you're getting close and you need a break, something that it can be incredibly hot is to be like, just tap their shoulder and be like, come kiss me. And if you have an issue with that, we're just gonna let that go. But like, hey baby, come kiss me, as your break to have not so much stimulation on yourself if you think you're starting to get close. That is a very hot and intimate moment. And I will say that's vanilla. Because
Yeah.
so
Intimacy, vanilla.
just,
Yeah.
hot sex tips over here with Nikki. Sorry.
Okay. Is there anything on the giving side recommendations for oral sex for those who have a vulva?
I will say that there's a lot of anatomy
There
that
is.
to explore down there. One, I will say my nails right now are very, very, very long. So
Yes.
ladies, if you're with your lady, um, just don't have these really long nails. Like, I really don't recommend that. But there's so many places to stimulate, and I would actually recommend, there are some, oh shit, I can't even like remember the websites right now, but there's certain like genres of pornography where it's very focused on giving good head to someone with a vulva.
Yep.
And it's not that I recommend porn for sex education, but there is some pornography out there.
Yeah.
There's some films where it is so focused on that and what can be done, that I just recommend that, or talking to your partner. I actually have had several people, not clients, but just people in my life say, I hate it. I don't want my husband to go down on me because they suck at it. And I'm like, well, why? Have you tried to talk them through it?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And they just think they're really, really good at it. So people giving pleasure to a vulva, stop, check in, and ask, how does that feel? What feels good and what doesn't feel good? You have a tongue, you have your lips, you have your fingers. There's a lot to explore. I mean, I really, really want to go into a lot of detail here, but time wise. But also like you can play with vibrations, like on the clit with your mouth, like on someone's clit, like just humming. That's a slight vibration while keeping eye contact. It's a very intimate moment. And yeah, that's like sort of tips like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's all I'll say there, because I really was like, how.
I mean, there's tons of fun little tricks down there. I mean,
There's
and
so
even
many.
not even focusing on the vulva. I mean, kissing the inner
Yeah.
thigh, working away from,
The knee up to the inner thigh, like
the lips up top to the lips down below. I mean, there's a lot to work with. There
yeah,
really is.
you don't have to go straight for the clit.
No.
And honestly, to like build up the moment, yeah, you don't have to, but sometimes that's not what your partner wants. So
Yeah.
talk to your partner. There's a lot of fun things that can happen. And if you are uncomfortable, or if they are uncomfortable, it's a conversation. It's not a you have to do this. I think RJ and myself are huge fans of reciprocating on both ends and making sure that if someone is not reciprocating, that both partners are comfortable with that, because it is
Correct.
very possible. Doesn't matter. This is not a gender thing. For someone to really not enjoy giving, or receiving, and the other partner being okay with that. That is possible, but just make sure that's communicated, and your partner's needs are being handled.
Yeah, agreed. And I think my last statement on this before we move on to our third and final flight, especially for any hands whatsoever, trim their nails and wash your hands.
Wash your hands, please.
Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. All right. Yeah. Let's kick it off. Our third flight, our third and final flight. I'm going to take the lead on this. I have, because I love the name, Knob Creek.
I love Knob Creek.
Knob Creek. It is a
It's one of my
12-year-old bourbon, $60 to $70. It's vanilla. It's got like a peppery, oaky finish, so smooth then spicy. It's a great sipping bourbon. It's really great during cold weather for me. So not now, but eventually. Cheers.
One day. So I have Crown Royal. Crown Royal 18.
Crown Royal.
Yeah, Crown Royal 18-year extra rare, blended Canadian whiskey. I have never had Crown Royal up until before this show. So I pre-gamed by trying this. So as soon as I opened the bottle, like I had to step back for a bit because the smell is very familiar. Unfortunately, it's just I've never tried it, but it reminds me of, like, it kind of smelled like chocolate rum balls that my uncle used to get around Christmas. And while my grandfather was polishing off a bottle of Crown Royal because he fucking hated everybody, he was just like, I just want this to be done with. So I just have never been interested in Crown Royal I'm like, no, that's fine. So this was my first time trying Crown Royal, and it's fine. I don't like Canadian whiskeys. I don't. I think it's expensive. It came in a fancy box. I didn't write down the price. So yeah, that's what it smells like. That's what it reminds me of. I don't particularly like it because it's associated with like weird family drama. But my husband chose it. Yeah. So I was just like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. Cheers.
Cheers. We apologize to our Canadian listeners. I don't know what she's talking about.
I had nothing but love for Canadians. I just don't like Crown Royal.
I just hate your whiskey.
Hey, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
A lot of people hate things that I love. It's fine.
It's life. That's all it is. It's just life.
Anyway. Oh, I'm so excited for what's next. What's about to happen?
Stacking the glasses. Okay. So we've spent the first two flights talking about what is vanilla sex and what is vanilla intimacy. But I think our pitfall here is, and from my point of view, I'm talking from a heterosexual relationship point of view. And my pitfall is that when I talk about vanilla intimacy, I'm talking about penetrating a vagina. So I'm thinking in that mindset of what actually, gets involved in that. And I don't think about what other couples that don't have a similar dynamic than I do, obviously. So, Nikki, I want you to expand on that. I want you to take us on a journey about vanilla sex for everybody and kind of the misnomers that we all kind of fall into with it.
So I am going to start, so this has been the big thing I've wanted to say. like I've been so excited to say this into a microphone, but anal sex is vanilla sex. Period. Because that's the type of sex people have that are not, I mean, and it has nothing to do with are you gay or not? People have anal sex. Now, when you think about two men having sex, anal sex is usually the penetration that's happening, but oral sex is also a possibility. It's whatever works for them. So anal sex is the norm. We tend to think of, here's a penis, here's a vagina, and they fit together. No, that's the norm. So anal sex doesn't have to be exclusive to gay couples. Anyone can have anal sex. And so there's a term that I actually hate. Pegging is vanilla sex, and pegging is just anal sex with a strap on. It doesn't matter who the gender is or anything like that, because when you think about two women having sex or two people having sex, and for whatever reason, they need a strap on, they need a dildo, they need a
device,
phallus. Yeah, like some sort of device. Like that is totally normal. That's their vanilla and that's fine. But people assume like a sex toy or something gets strapped on, they immediately think kink. And it's like, no, like that is their normal, how they have sex and experience pleasure with their partner. That's how they pleasure their partner. The term pegging actually came about because no one had a term for a woman strapping something on and fucking a man in the ass. No one had a term. So a term was someone came up with a term, and what really has happened, and it's turned it into this thing where anal sex is this sort of like, ooh, taboo otherness. Like it's contributed to that. And there are a lot of people who are allies who still will just turn their nose up at anal sex and be like, oh no. And it's like, just because it's an oh no for you, check your disgust, check how you feel, check the sexual script of society, and really reconsider how you react to some of these things. Because what you're doing is you're not thinking about holistically about how people have sex. I also like the fact that Prince of Pegging was trending on Twitter like a couple weeks ago. I loved that shit. I was just like, yes, go get you some. I don't know. I don't follow any royal family bullshit, but it just led to a lot of conversations with people, and why I don't like the word pegging either. So the other thing I want to talk about is something with vanilla that people kind of get caught up in is positions. So we talked about missionary. Not everybody can have missionary position sex, and that can be because of a disability. And so what works position wise is going to be different for each person.
Sometimes height differentials. We
like
don't like, we
height
don't even.
differentials. Yeah, but even like pain. So if there's any sort of pain with sex, or an angle doesn't work. And we also always like to think like just everyone wants like a big fat cock. And I'm like, no, that's not always the case, honey. That might hurt some people because not everybody is built the same. Every position's different, and a position that might be the best position for a couple, and I think we sort of talked about this on the Ask Us Anything. There is like no best position to recommend for everybody, because not everything fits together in some sort of perfect way. Everybody is different. So when talking about what is vanilla and thinking about sexual scripts, think about people who have a disability, who's, their anatomy is such, and that their way that they have sex is not this penis and vagina thing. Like that's not it. So kind of get those things out of your head. And really, I want to encourage people to look at this idea that sexual scripts in general are based in a real heteronormative, purity culture, pro-masculinity, ableist, like controlling the other partner view, like worldview. And I know on here, it's just like everyone should embrace their vanilla and what works for them and what feels good for them, and then have a conversation with your partner. And it's okay to not be a kinky person. That's totally fine. Everyone should be able to feel comfortable exploring sex and their sexuality in a way where they don't feel judged. So as soon as we say, oh, I only like vanilla sex, first of all, that can mean fucking anything.
Yeah.
But what we tend to do is put on this sort of like, oh, this is what I know vanilla sex to be because this is how it applies to me. So really the point is, when we're talking about positions, specific acts, or anything like that, it's not you, baby. It's just like, it's not what you do is not the fucking script. That's not how it is. And if people out there online are talking about like, oh, that shit's weird, just shut the fuck up. Like, just shut the fuck up and keep it to yourself, maybe, because it's really judgmental, and there's no reason to be judgmental when it comes to sex, because we're already judged for so much in the bedroom. Like, we're judged before we take our fucking clothes off. So why sit there and say your behavior is right or wrong, that is the normal, or that's not normal, or you're a quote unquote prude, or you're a hoe, like whatever it is, like, why are we still having these conversations? So I encourage everyone to, if you embrace vanilla and you like that term, I mean, I embrace good vanilla sex, like that's great, but I'm complicated. I'm a very complicated person. But I mean, I guess really the big thing is just check what you're saying. Like, is it coming from a place of judgment or a bias that you didn't realize you had? I think a lot of times really it comes from a bias people just aren't aware of. And I think the big one that triggers that is when people start thinking about anal sex and saying, oh, that's not normal. Now, I'm also not saying everyone needs to try anal sex. No, that's not for everybody, and I 1000% understand. I will say that anal sex is for plenty of people, and that's fine, and they don't need to be judged or criticized, and you don't need to fucking clutch your pearls over it either. So I think that's all I have. I don't know. What questions do you have for me?
Oh,
Do you have any? I don't know. Did I answer any of your questions? Like, you told me to take you on a journey. Have you?
Yeah, you did.
Have you been on a journey?
I feel like snack? I have.
Okay.
I need like a juice box and a nap. Jesus God.
I was like, you need a juice box, honey? You need a granola bar?
That's a whole other thing that we should not. That's not a. Don't do that voice. Okay.
We'll never do it again. We can cut that out.
We're keeping that in. We're keeping that in.
No.
You're welcome. I think.
I should get paid for that. I'm sure
that's a Patreon clip right there.
It's OnlyFans.
I think, especially when it comes to this idea, we need to eliminate preconceived notions. We need to eliminate our own biases. We need to eliminate, a lot of things that we carry with us when we go up to the bedroom. I think the best way to put vanilla sex, especially in my viewpoint, is whatever sort of intimacy you can find with a partner where there is mutual trust, adoration, love. If it's something you believe in, and being able to communicate with them not only in an emotional setting, but a physical setting as well. And some of you might not be at that point with your partner, and you're still figuring that out. But that's part of it. Figuring this all out is part of it. Having these discussions is part of it. Whether it be anal be your vanilla, tied up be your vanilla, doggy, side lying, you name it. It's about finding. I was about to say it's about finding the right universe for you, but that's the gay crashers.
You know what though? You know what?
It's about finding the right hole for you. No, it's about finding.
God, RJ.
It's about finding the right anything for you. So if you are listening, and I hope you are, just know that everyone goes on this journey at some point. Everyone has to find this comfort level. And if you're not there, like I said, you will get there, or you will find the right person to get there with. So don't feel distraught that, you don't know what that is yet. Don't feel distraught that you feel like your partner and you are on two different playing fields. You're having you're having two different thoughts about what is vanilla or what is, your comfort level. Um, because everyone has a starting point, everyone has an ending point. So you'll get there. But I do have one last thing to ask Nikki. Now that we're kind of wrapping this all up, because we are, I just have to ask you, what is vanilla sex to you?
Like personally?
Not personally,
Or
just give me a one-liner, give me a byline.
vanilla sex is comfort. It's
Perfect.
comforting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's comfortable intimacy, and however you define the sex is up to you.
Biscuits and gravy, baby.
Oh, yes. I'm hungry
Yeah.
now.
There we go.
You're
All
speaking my
right.
language.
For Sex and Whiskey, this has been RJ. Thank you for joining us. And as always, I'm always accompanied by
Nikki, I'm still me.
still Nikki.
Hey, I'm still
Always will be
Nikki.
Nikki. Thank
Hey.
you for joining us.